Bitch's coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was the subject of conversation. Apparently, the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
They said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he? Well, really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
No. Next, Joy's gonna say she's never heard of carbs. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Motives stink worse than Joy Behar's jog bra. I mean, assuming she jogs. Oh, wait, there she is.
Welcome to another episode of The View, where the drama is never in short supply and the opinions are loud enough to shake the walls. But here's the twist. Today, we're not just talking about the usual banter. Oh no, today, you're going to witness the unexpected, a roast so smooth, you'd swear it was planned. It all starts with a simple name drop, or rather, a name that was supposedly unfamiliar to certain faces on the show. Gutfeld? Never heard of him, apparently. But what does it take to get under the skin of someone like Sunny Hostin, a woman whose entire career revolves around moral high ground? Just one joke, just one offhand comment, and the internet went wild, the memes exploded, and the sparks flew. No one saw it coming. So there it is. Greg Gutfeld, the king of late-night sarcasm, had a little something for Sunny Hostin. The View panel, mind you, had no idea what was coming. As Sunny sipped her morning tea, Greg's words shot across the airwaves, aiming squarely at the moral absolutism she espouses daily. What did he say? Was it a fierce jab? Was it a direct confrontation? Number, it was a joke. A simple, no-frills roast.
It's about The View. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like, it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like, it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much.
But as anyone who's ever been roasted knows, sometimes the lightest touches leave the deepest burns. Greg had no intention of engaging in a lengthy back and forth. No need for a stage, no need for a face-to-face. Just one comment, and the ball was rolling. Suddenly, Sunny Hostin, whose every word is usually met with applause, found herself caught in an emotional downpour. Let's rewind to that fateful moment. Who is Greg Gutfeld? That's the response from Sunny's co-hosts on The View. Never heard of him, they all chimed in. But let's pause for a second. Really? A man who practically dominates late-night political humor and commentary is unknown to the women of The View?
Their brains are small. But who's the dumbest one of all? True, none of them are in Mensa, but who's the most densa? Perhaps it's Sunny who mastered the art of making idiots look smart. Now, The View could ask a mirror who's the dumbest one of all, but there's no way that glass doesn't shatter.
This denial isn't just about the name, though. It's about avoiding a deeper confrontation, about pretending like the punchline was nothing more than a distant hum in the background. Because let's face it, denying Greg's existence was the first step in pretending that his impact didn't land. Too bad for Sunny, because the internet wasn't buying it. The thing about Sunny Hostin is that she's built an entire persona around being the serious one, the moral compass who calls out others for their failings. But the problem with this approach is that it leaves you vulnerable to anyone who knows how to break through that tough exterior. And Greg, he knows how to break through it. One throwaway comment, a bit of sarcasm, and Sunny's entire emotional framework started to crack. You could almost hear the gears grinding as she scrambled to find a way to recover. But how do you recover from a moment like that? A one-liner took her down without even breaking a sweat.
The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years. They're turning on me. So that makes Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
Here's the beauty of it all. Sunny didn't react in the way we've come to expect from the usual on-air showdowns. There was no yelling, no flaring tempers. Instead, her response was a subtle unraveling. She returned to The View the next day, but something was different. She wasn't just stiff. There was a coldness in her posture, an undertone of uncertainty in her voice. It was as if her entire sense of self had been shaken. Imagine the juxtaposition here. A woman who spends her days navigating the political landscape with confidence, only to be blindsided by one joke that lands like a gut punch. And still there was no mention of it. A masterclass in pretending you're not affected when every fiber of your being says otherwise. The internet, being what it is, was quick to capitalize on this moment. Memes were born in an instant, with Sunny's face plastered all over the digital world, looking as if she had just discovered sarcasm for the first time. And Greg? Well, he was somewhere out there, probably creating more jokes, absolutely unaware, or maybe very aware, that he had just sparked an online wildfire.
Rogan censored.
Hasn't he been also chastised and corrected, and then he just goes back to his craziness again? I mean, I don't know that he can be reformed.
And that's from a fright-wigged clown that's had more offensive crap fly out of her pie hole than a busted sewer pipe.
These memes didn't just capture a moment, they captured the essence of the joke itself. A sharp, witty observation that pierced through the carefully curated facade of political correctness and moral superiority. The View, the sanctum of supposed intellectual superiority, suddenly became the target of something far more dangerous, a well-executed, perfectly timed joke. But what's really at play here is more than just a TV roast. It's a deeper ideological battle. On one side, you have Gutfeld, the embodiment of irreverence and sarcasm, who doesn't follow the typical script. He doesn't play by the rules. He doesn't ask permission to make you laugh at the expense of your dignity. On the other side, you have The View, an institution that thrives on outrage and moral righteousness, a group of people who are used to controlling the narrative, to being the ones who do the mocking. But Gutfeld didn't ask for permission. He simply walked into their space, cracked a joke, and walked away. That's the real magic of comedy. It can strip away the pretense. It doesn't need a platform, it doesn't need a script, and it doesn't need to be politically correct, it just needs to be sharp. It's not just the joke that gets to Sunny, it's the realization that she's been caught in a blind spot. She thought she had all the angles covered, but she never anticipated being outwitted by something as simple as sarcasm. Her response, if you could call it that, was to retreat into silence, to act like the roast didn't happen, but deep down, we all knew it did. What's worse, it wasn't even an outright attack. Gutfeld didn't call her out by name. He didn't need to. The nature of the joke was such that it left her feeling like she had been stripped of her intellectual armor, and no amount of moral high ground could fix that. The internet turned the situation from a simple TV moment into an undeniable cultural event. The memes, the Twitter debates, the TikToks, these all carried the joke far beyond the walls of The View. This is where the real power of Gutfeld's roast came into play. It wasn't just about a late-night host making a joke. It was about the ripple effect that exploded across social media. Suddenly, Sunny was the punchline of a joke she couldn't control. And the internet, always ready to pounce, kept the fire burning. The View tried to move on, but the memes kept pushing the narrative. In today's digital age, this wasn't just a roast, it was an event. It was content, culture, and comedy all colliding into one unforgettable moment. When all the dust settles, what's the real lesson here? What do we walk away with from this entire episode? Well, at its core, this moment encapsulates something deeply profound about the power of humor, something that goes beyond the punchline, beyond the meme, beyond the immediate gratification of a viral moment. Comedy, when wielded correctly, isn't just about making people laugh, it's about disrupting the status quo, challenging the narratives we accept without question, and, most importantly, showing us just how fragile even the most ironclad public personas can be. At its essence, this wasn't just a late-night host delivering a one-liner. This was a well-crafted weapon of cultural commentary. It didn't need to be cruel. It didn't need to be filled with venom or malice. It simply needed to be clever enough to pierce through the thick layers of pretense that so often surround political figures and public personalities like Sunny Hostin. And what makes this all the more impressive is that it didn't require an elaborate plan, a painstaking setup, or even an entire segment dedicated to it. It was, at its heart, an offhand comment, a quick hit, a flash of wit. And that's what made it so potent. Humor has this unique power to level the playing field. It doesn't care about credentials. It doesn't care about the years you've spent building an image or crafting your intellectual authority. It doesn't care if you've earned a law degree or spent decades in the public eye. When the right joke lands, none of that matters. What matters is the ability to tap into something primal, to expose the contradictions in the air and let everyone see them not just through a serious lens, but through the lens of humor. Gutfeld understood that. He didn't need to directly confront Sunny's beliefs or her public stance. All he had to do was reflect her own behavior back at her, wrapped in the packaging of comedy, and in doing so he won, not just in a moment of television banter, but in something much more lasting. Let's talk about vulnerability for a second. When you're a public figure, particularly someone like Sunny Hostin, who has crafted an entire persona around being a paragon of virtue, a moral high ground that few dare to challenge, what happens when that persona is suddenly cracked? It's like watching a carefully constructed statue fall apart in front of you, not from a direct attack, but from a well-timed, seemingly innocent punchline. That's the thing about comedy. It exposes vulnerability in a way that no amount of well-thought-out arguments ever could. In one stroke, it makes even the most invulnerable public figures look human. So what do we take away from all this? The real takeaway is that comedy is not just an art form, it's a weapon. A well-timed joke has the power to change the entire conversation, to shift the dynamics in a way that politics and scripted outrage never could. Greg didn't need to respond. He didn't need a follow-up. He didn't need to keep pushing. He made his point. And in the end, the quiet aftermath was louder than any verbal sparring could ever be. Because in the court of public opinion, it's the punchlines that win,